Today in grammar, we're going to talk about complex sentences and subordinating conjunctions. I'm going to do the teaching portion first and then have you practice in your reader's notebook. So, an independent clause is a simple sentence and tells a complete thought. It has a subject and a verb. A dependent, on the other hand, has a subject and a verb, but it doesn't tell a complete thought. It can't stand by itself. We form a complex sentence when we combine one independent clause with one or more dependent clauses. So let's look at the example. He went swimming even though the water was cold. He went swimming is our independent clause. We have a subject and a verb, and it can stand and tells a complete thought. If we look at our thinking question, it's which part of the sentence tells a complete thought and which part cannot stand alone. We know that he went swimming is our complete thought. Even though the water was cold is not a complete thought and cannot stand alone. It's dependent. So we're going to talk about which one of these examples is complex and which ones are dependent. Remember, dependent clauses do not tell a complete thought. Let's do the first one. The tourist looked for seals even though it was getting dark. This is a complex sentence. We have the tourist looked for seals. This is our independent clause. And then we have even though it was getting dark, which is our dependent clause. It can't stand alone. So this would be complex. After they waited a few minutes, they saw the seals. After they waited a few minutes is our dependent clause. This cannot stand by itself. They saw the seals is the part that is independent. So this is a complex sentence. Let's see if I can color code. This one does not want to do it for me. Let's go like this. So blue is dependent and the yellow is independent. So even though the water was choppy, can that stand by itself? Is this a complete thought? No, we need to make that blue. That is a dependent clause. The seals swam gracefully is a complete thought, and that can stand on its own. That's our independent clause. So this is also a complex sentence. Before the tourists left for the day. Is that a dependent clause? Does it tell a complete, or does it not tell a complete? Right, this is dependent. This cannot stand on its own. Now, in talking about complex sentences, there's another piece to that called subordinating conjunctions. A subordinating conjunction joins a dependent clause to an independent clause to form a complex sentence. Okay? So if the dependent clause appears first, we add a comma before adding the independent. Now, subordinating conjunctions begin the dependent clauses. Some subordinating conjunctions are after, although, because, before, even though, since, unless, until, when, or while. So the thinking question is, which subordinating conjunction can join the dependent clause to the independent clause? Let's look at the example. Unless it rains, we will go swimming tomorrow. Unless it rains, comma, we will go swimming tomorrow. Unless is the subordinating conjunction. So we're going to underline the dependent clause and write the subordinating conjunction that begins the dependent clause. So we're looking for the part that cannot stand alone. Let's read the first one. After we swim, we will eat. After we swim is the incomplete thought. We'll make it green. This is the dependent clause. The subordinating conjunction that begins the dependent clause is after. And I can't do both. Can't do the dependent and the subordinating conjunction. So after is our subordinating conjunction. Okay? Let's do the second one. People dove underwater until they were out of breath. People dove underwater is our independent part until they were out of breath. Until is our subordinating conjunction? Try 3, 4, and 5. Pause the video. See if you can find which word is the subordinating conjunction. Did you find them all? Now it's your turn to continue to practice complex sentences and subordinating conjunctions. You are going to find extra practice in your reader's notebook. Page 132 is the complex sentences, where you will write complex or dependent based on if the sentence has the independent clause and one or more dependent, or if it doesn't tell a complete thought, then it would be dependent. And then on subordinating conjunctions, you're going to underline the dependent clause and then write the subordinating conjunction that begins that clause on the line. Remember, all your information that you need that we had exactly like on the projectables, including your thinking question, are up top. Make sure to have your learning adult check your work on both page 132 and 133.